Hello, ma'am. What's your name?
Tania Vojvodic.
Now, Tania, a few months back, several months back, I saw a video of yours. I think you were in a car driving around. I don't remember what state you're in, but you're in Texas then. And that's how we actually got in touch the first time. I saw this video that went viral all over the country, several million views ultimately. And you were out there, you were one of the biggest cheerleaders for Donald Trump. In fact, I believe you were the chair for him in Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a congressional district co-chair for the Trump campaign for District 6.
And you were an avid supporter.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I then reached out to you is because I think you reached out to me first because you didn't like an article that I wrote about the video that you made. Is that correct?
Correct. I as soon as I got wind of your blog, I debated all day how I was going to address it, and I reached out to you that afternoon and PM'd you.
And I think you were shocked because you probably were expecting a fight and realized you didn't get one.
I don't go looking for fights, but I have always been, even after you and I spoke for a lengthy period of time, no matter what side of the fence that we're on, we certainly can have an intellectual conversation, dialogue. Respect is both sides, comes from both sides. And if you're willing to give that respect and respecting folks' opinions, no matter whether you agree to disagree, you can have a really good conversation, and I promote that. And I've always promoted that. I've spent a lot of time speaking to the opposing of Trump, and I've always had really good conversations. I've never ever really had a bad engagement with a liberal.
Right.
Because I'm open-minded and respectful of their opinions and their views on things.
Now, this morning early, I got this call from somebody saying, "Hey, Mr. Willies, this is your Trump." What word did you use?
I use scary Trump supporter.
You're a scary Trump supporter. And as you heard, at first I was kind of shocked, and then I said, "Okay, what's up?" And your thing was, "I am off of the train," with a few adjectives attached to it, of course. And then you started to tell me. So what I asked you to do is let's go ahead and get a video Skype, because these are much more effective. And tell me your story. Why are you now longer on the train, on the Trump train?
The Trump train, Mr. Willie, it stopped at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue when we got Donald Trump elected. Okay, we're now driving a very, very different locomotive now, because you have several various components to that train. You have, as I was telling you, is that there is three parts to a Trump support base. The first part being those Trump supporters that had never been involved in politics, that jumped on board the Trump train throughout and during the presidential election, that supported Donald Trump. They got boots on the ground, and they were heavy in their support. Once they got Trump elected, guess what? They felt 100% so confident that they said, "You know what, Trump's elected, and I'm going back to my life and out of politics, and I'm not going to pay attention because I trust Trump." Then you have the second part of the base that has been involved in politics on various levels, that has their eyes wide open, and that are seeing facts, that aren't so drunk on Trump or infatuated with Trump that they can't see that he's flipping on various issues. And they're out there on social media, they're expressing their great concerns. And guess what? You've got the third part of the Trump base that are so drunk on Trump that they are completely blind to those facts. Everything that's coming out of media sources is fake news. And even if you, as a long-term Trump supporter that trumped along their side, they're now calling you the troll, the snowflake, liberal snowflake. You were never in support of Trump. And so you've got this concerned Trump support base that's now been casted off the Trump train, that's been denied access by this Trump clique. And I've decided that I'm going to embrace the concerned Trump supporter. and developed a group to where we could get into a closed group and have dialogue and express our concerns without getting the backlash from the third part of the Trump train. And you've got liberals that did come out and that did vote for Trump because they refused to vote for Hillary. It is 100% bona fide fact that you had Democrats that were flipping to Republican during the primaries to vote for Trump, and those that didn't flip eventually during the general did cast their vote for Trump. So even them as Americans, no matter what side or party you're affiliated, they're concerned about the direction of the country in which we all should be, no matter party affiliation. And so we're really having great conversations with the left and the right and the middle and the green parties. We're all in there in this group, and it's going very beautifully. And I'm really glad to see folks having really good conversation and debates and being respectful of one another, because that's exactly what needs to happen. So I think that now we're driving not a Trump train, but we're driving an American train. And I say all aboard, and let's work together and unite.
No, you know, I've always spoken to you. I sometimes I get in trouble with my base when I said one of the things that we're going to have to do is to get to reach out to Trump supporters for one specific reason, and to try to let them all know that we should be on the same team. We don't have to think the same ideologically or anything of that nature, but from an economic standpoint, I think in a lot of ways many of us are snowed. Okay, so let me ask you specifically, what are the things that really turned you off from Trump specifically?
Well, you know, Trump campaigned heavily. Obviously, his major number one position throughout his entire campaign since day one was illegal immigration. You know, after you and I had spoke many months ago, I went on to become the communications director for the Remembrance Project. I was heavily involved on behind the scenes with Mr. Trump and former Senator Jeff Sessions, and working with mothers of illegal alien crime. They had lost their children to illegals. And so I was really on that forefront, and Trump made specific commitments to those families. And one of those was to rescind DAPA and DACA, to rescind the unconstitutional executive orders, regardless of opinion here. And he was very passionate with that commitment and saying, regardless, they're unconstitutional, we have to rescind them, we'll keep the families together, but they've got to go back. Well, that really stood out to me in January when he held a meeting and spoke to Border Patrol, having stated in the same breath that you had DACA recipients, some, not all, are gang members and drug dealers. But then suddenly, within 2 sentences later, approximately, he says, we're going to have heart for DACA. I saw an instant flip, a complete 360. I mean, it was just like, wow, did he really say that? I started noticing where, like, for an example, all of a sudden China is not a currency manipulator, which was one of the things that he pushed throughout the campaign. He spoke heavily against and opposed globalism. He spoke about, the Obama administration and how much of a failure that was, and how that harmed the American people and the country, and so on. But now we see these appointments, whether he knowingly or inadvertently has made these appointments, but based upon how he's being advised. These appointments are very concerning. When you have General Kelly, now the Secretary of Homeland Security, coming out and telling the Democrat caucus leaders that I'm the best thing that happened to DACA, that's why it's still on the books. Well, to a Trump supporter that heavily campaigned for Trump, knows that that's a concern. When you see globalist executives like Khan and Powell being appointed, it's concerning. And I think even liberals, I've had many conversations over the last several weeks, that they're just as concerned about these appointments. So, these are factual, documented facts that Trump supporters cannot ignore, but yet they're choosing to completely turn a blind eye to that. And the concerned Trump support base, what I want folks on the other side to know is that we aren't that blind. There is many of us that see things the same way. And I know for a fact that I had many conversations throughout the campaign with anti-Trump that did say, hey, look, Kushner's a Democrat. Kushner was, took a line of credit from George Soros for his investment firm. But I saw the same thing, and just like when Obama, his first bid in his presidential campaign, we grabbed a hold of that emotion and that belief and faith in someone that, yes, we can make a change. And I even sucked it up. I'm not going to lie. I voted for Obama. Okay. And I believed in his message, and I believed that he was going to keep those commitments and those promises. And just the same, you have the American people, regardless of party, that believed in Trump and the commitments that he was making to the American people. Now, suddenly, he's flipped.
Now, let me tell you, first of all, don't it also concern you that most of these people that he's brought on board are from Wall Street when he railed against Wall Street throughout the campaign against Hillary and Obama alike?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Almost every appointment that he has made, again, like I said, whether he's knowingly making these appointments, well, obviously he's made them, one has to consider and think that, okay, there's someone there advising him, and whoever the best candidate is, they're going to push that candidate for whatever, agenda. Okay. And Trump is appointing them. So whether he's knowingly doing it intentionally or he's inadvertently doing it, he's doing it. And those appointments are very concerning. Right now, the only appointments that I agree with is former Senator Jeff Sessions and Gorsuch. That's it. All the other appointments has deeply concerned me. And every day, the concerned Trump support base is losing faith in Trump.
Now, are you finding that is a growing base from the people that, because as one of the leaders of the movement here in Texas, he got quite a bit of support in the areas where you are at. So do you find that is something that's getting more and more traction?
Oh, absolutely. And every day on social media, I drive social media.
Right.
We're seeing it. I'm seeing it every single day. I've even put out intentional posts that were intentional by me to probe various types of Trump supporters. And the reason why is because we had this message of unity, and Trump supporters were voicing, yes, we need to unify, and this is why we had all these marches for Trump. We need to unify, and of course Joe Villa came out, and supported that unity and peace and love and bringing together. And it's like I had to probe to find out: are you seriously willing to make the commitment to unify our country? And so I put out probing posts. And as of this morning, I let everyone know I've been probing you for several weeks now. You say you want to unify, but then actions speak louder than words. And you're not willing, apparently, to unify. And until you are willing to have decency and respecting the fact that we all have a constitutional right to form our own opinions and to express that, until you're willing to respect the opposing's feedback, their beliefs, you don't have to agree with them, but until you're willing to respect them and have a cordial conversation, and let's try to start forming a bridge or relationship between each other, we're going to continue going the same path.
When you speak about unifying, are you speaking about unifying the Trump supporters or unifying the country as a whole?
Unifying the country as a whole. I think that you and I can both agree that the parties both parties has gone in a complete different direction than how it was originally founded. And I think that both parties are just as corrupt, in my opinion, based on what we have both seen. And I think that people at this point has certainly given up on the GOP all throughout the campaign. And on social media, one post, one comment after the next, people refuse to donate to the GOP, wanting to drain the swamp because our party is so corrupt. And the only way to regain our parties is by us getting involved on the local level and putting ourselves up on the plate to make the sacrifice, to get more involved, to become elected within our own parties, to take it back. Both parties has gone in complete different directions. And that's a major disappointment on both sides.
Okay, now, Tania, let me close the conversation this way. As you know, my concern with still with a whole lot of Trump supporters and even past Trump supporters like yourself is your insistence on some of the issues with DACA, DAPA, etc. And but I think that is a conversation that needs to be held intellectually in some other domain. That's not the purpose of this interview. The purpose of this interview is I wanted people to see that, in effect, there are Trump supporters that are no longer a part of the cult, if you will, but that are willing to come out and talk. And my hope is that in the future, with folks like you, because, again, you're still a leader within that movement, that I can come to some sort of a plane with you where we can come to an agreement on that immigration isn't what you think it is, and on several other issues. But that is for another conversation. I want to thank you, first of all, for giving me a call this morning and coming out and giving your message. But beforehand, you mentioned that you have some groups where you want to have intellectual dialogue.
Correct.
Give it to me, because what I tell you what, I want people to go there. I want some liberals like myself to go there, as long as your folks are going to promise to have an intellectual discussion on that.
Absolutely, and they are. We're seeing since Politico did the article on Trump support base last week, they actually mentioned the group that I had developed called the Concerned Support Base of President Trump. We've had an extreme amount of growth of both sides, and I've stressed that to Trump supporters and those opposing Trump to let's please be respectful of one another. I'm going to hold everyone accountable for their actions. If you cannot get along, and if I see that you're being disrespectful and being hateful, you're out of here. You know, there's no sense in that. I have made several posts. Do not be discriminatory in this group. Do not be hateful. If I see it, you're out of here. If you're a Trump supporter, and even though concerned, and if you're lashing out at a concerned liberal, you're out of here. I'm going to hold everyone accountable, just as I'm going to hold my president accountable and hold his feet to the fire. I'm not so blind on faith. I don't know what the future holds, and I'm not going to go forward with blind faith and believing in something that I don't see. What I am going to do is go based on what I am seeing right here, right now, and I hope that all will hold him accountable, as well as we hold each other accountable for our own actions. And I really do believe that we can work together. Like I said, I continue to hope that our country can unite no matter what side of the fence that we're on. We are human beings. Many are Christians. I don't believe that you can be a Christian and then bash a liberal and not be a hypocrite in your own faith. You can't do it. That's not what Christianity stands for. Our values, our morals. If you're a Christian, then you need to treat others as you would like and want to be treated, no matter what side of the fence you're on. And I promote that.
Thank you very much, Tania.
Thank you, Willie. It's always a pleasure to talk to you anytime.